I'm delighted to welcome Donna today from a website that she's created called raisingyouright.co.za. So welcome, Donna. Lovely to have you, and I believe we're going to be talking about bringing up children and parenting and all the bits and bobs that entails.
Thank you, Elaine, for having me. It's really a pleasure to share some insights.
Okay, so I gather you're a single mum of two boys.
Yes.
And how old are the boys now?
The boys are now 13 and 9.
And what are they called?
Jared and Tyler.
Jared and Tyler, lovely. So you're a single parent. I've been a single parent twice, and I know how difficult it can be. So I take my hat off to you. Each time I was a single parent, I only had one child, but with two, and two boys. Come to that, it's going to be. I know your life is going to be quite challenging at times. So raising you right. What led you to that title for your website?
It was actually a Facebook post from a friend that I saw, and the word right was just one of those words that kept on popping up in my head. So raising a child the right way for me is different for each and every one of us, because we're all unique and we all have our own view of the world. And this is created through our own upbringing, our experiences, both good and bad, and things that we see or opportunities that we were given.
So how did your experiences influence you and how you've brought the boys up, and given the age difference, 4 years age difference, have you done things differently with Tyler than with Jared, if that's the right way round?
Okay, Jared is the oldest, Tyler is the youngest. So it's not that I do anything differently. It is just because they are the opposite of each other in every aspect. So the words that I use to communicate with them may be different, but the messages are the same.
So in terms of their personality, you're talking about, I gather?
Yes, they are polar opposites in every aspect.
So what can you give us examples of, say something happens, how would you speak to one differently to the other?
Okay, so Jared would respond, just as an example, to words like mind, body, soul, whereas Tyler responds to thoughts, words, actions.
That's a good distinction. Okay. So,
Yes.
and that fits also with the work that I do on behavioural profiling. It's very interesting how we all use different language, and most people don't even realise they're doing it until it's pointed out. So it's wonderful that you've noticed that with your children. So many parents are busy being busy and don't notice things like that. So that's great. So what kind of led you to really concentrate and want to help other parents to raising raising you right? So raising you right. What does raising you right mean to you?
Okay, so the word right for me is when I was pregnant with Jared and I knew that I was having a boy, the first thought was that he would have respect for the woman in his life. The second one was that the only thing I want for him is to be the unique individual that he is. Another one is for him to grow up to be the best human that he can be, and to see value in teamwork and togetherness and how we can achieve more together.
And did that change at all with when you had Tyler?
No. It's what I want for both of my boys. And just, yeah, like when I know what my values are, and those are instilled in my children, but then they are still given opportunities to think independently, to be the unique individuals that they are, and to just grow at their own pace.
I think that's a really important distinction, because it's all very well us having values, but and obviously they will pick up on those values, because that's just how things work in the first 7 to 8 years of our life. That's where our conditioning comes from. The Jesuits have a saying, give me the boy till he's 7 and I'll give you the man. So it's very, very important to know what's happening to start off with. But so many parents I've seen, and I suspect I probably did the same, although my children now are taller and bigger, and I'm sure they're older than me now, because I'm only 25. My daughter's 40 this year. I mean, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, but there we are. So yeah, instilling our values into the children is all well and good, but then, as you rightly say, they're different individuals, and they how do we bring our children up so that they do have independence of thought, and yet they still kind of, so they've got our values, but they've also enabled to they're empowered to find other values. I mean, how does that work? Have you got any tips for other parents on that side of things?
Okay, so part of it is listening to what our children are saying. So I have developed this unique listening skill over time, where I'm able to understand both the verbal and non-verbal communication. Because Tyler will, if he's going through something, he will either act out or use words that are not appropriate, whereas Jared will distance himself completely from the room. He retreats into himself. So it's understanding that, and understanding like what is going on internally with them, and just allowing them to express how they are feeling. Jared actually asked me the one day, he said, Mom, am I allowed to express how I feel? And I had to like really sit and think about that, because growing up, we were told that, you need to be quiet all the time, or, and eventually I said to him, you know what, my boy, yes, you can express how you feel, but as long as it's done with love and respect.
Yeah, two very important values, love and respect, absolutely. So how did you, what woke you up to the fact that you needed to bring your children up? Was it perhaps maybe different to how you were brought up? Is that where it came from?
It is different to how I was brought up. I'm very fortunate that my parents are still alive. But for me, it was, even though my parents are still together and still married, for a period of my life, it felt like I was being raised by a single parent, because my dad was always at work. My dad being the sole breadwinner in the family. So, it was a lot of what I went through growing up, and just not wanting that for my children. Like Jared came home the one day from school and he said, Mommy, this boy or person called me names, And because I had gone through that, I said to him, are you okay with who you are? And he said, yes, Mom. And I said, that's all that matters. And Jared, like I said, he is that reserved child that he will retreat into himself. So the fact that he tells me these things that make him uncomfortable, or, that he wouldn't normally tell anybody, is a real blessing.
That's excellent and very grown up. So for a 13-year-old, and being 13 in this modern world that we're in, this crazy, messed up world, it must be really quite difficult. So it sounds as though you're doing a great job. So health-wise, Donna, how have you kept going health-wise with all of this single parenting and 2 boys and challenges of the modern world?
Yeah, not every day is a good day, I'm not going to lie. But it is just a case of not giving up. there is light at the end of the tunnel, and just wanting to show my children that when you persevere and you get up and you carry on, you will get to where you're going.
Absolutely. I gather you have a health story going back a few years, and milk is involved. Tell us about that.
Yes, so I grew up on dairy, and we still eat meat, and a lot of things that are probably not good for me at the moment. But yes, I did notice that every change of season or whatever, that I would be having a cold, or I would have a lot of phlegm on my chest, or something like that. And what can I do right now to make this better? And then I stopped drinking milk in my coffee. I never liked cereal, so that wasn't a thing. And ever since I had stopped drinking milk, I've just been feeling so much better.
Absolutely, and I tell all my clients to avoid dairy, apart from raw unpasteurized milk and butter made in the same way, because that's actually really good for us, organic of course, but there's so much muck injected into the soil, the grass, the hormones, etc., which the cows absorb, and of course that comes through into the meat and also the milk. And milk is extremely acidic and mucus forming. So many people who have breathing difficulties, lung issues, asthma, eczema as well. The root cause is the problem with the milk and the contamination. So good for you. What woke you up to milk? Did you read something, or was it an intuitive thing that you thought you'd try?
It was just purely intuitive.
Cool. So your health is a lot better then since stopping milk.
Yes.
And you carried that through the boys as well. Do they have milk?
Well, they haven't had for a while, but that's just purely the environment that we are in at the moment. But Jared has mentioned that he does miss it, but I'll have to look at other options like almond milk or something like that when I'm a bit stable.
I make my own. The ones that you can buy are better than dairy milk, but they're quite diluted and watered down. So every now and then I'll make my own almond milk. I'm not a great milk person. I grew up with school milk, which is absolutely revolting. It was warm before we even drank it, and it's vile. So I've never been a lover of milk, but making almond milk, absolutely gorgeous and creamy, delicious. And then I use the pulp of the almonds to make protein balls, and then I freeze them. So I've always got some goodies that are really healthy to tuck into, especially if I have visitors, which is jolly nice. Nothing gets wasted here. So is there anything in particular that you'd like to say to the listeners about either being a single parent or the way that you bring up children? Language, obviously, if you've mentioned, is a big thing. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell?
It's just raising you right will give you a framework that is unique to you, that allows everybody in your home to be seen as respectful individuals who grow holistically together.
That sounds really simple, but I'm sure it's not as simple as that. So do you have a process that you take people through when you're coaching?
I do. So initially there is a free 30-minute session for anyone who's interested that can just book a session. And then I'll talk you through, also when you book a free session, you get a free e-guide that you can walk through. And then I'll go through the program and how it works with each person who does that booking.
Wonderful. And how long does the program take to undergo?
Okay, so I have two different ones. I have the 12-week program where you possibly maybe just starting out on your parenting journey, but you have a lot of internal stuff that you need to work through. Or the other one is where you can just book one session, because sometimes our children do go through something that we as parents are not able to help them with because we haven't experienced that.
So what kind of things might that be?
Well, you know, our children are growing, so you might, our children might go through things like eating disorders, or, you know, you might miss it because you think it, in your head, it's possibly just a growth spurt, or nervousness, or fear, or self-confidence issues. Things like that, that some people, not everybody can pick up on that all of the time.
Okay, so you're a good sounding board, I would imagine, for parents who are maybe wobbling a bit and not knowing who to talk to and need a bit of guidance. So remind us of your, tell us your website, Donna, so people can reach you.
Okay, so it is https:// raisingyouright.co.za.
So raisingyouright.co.za.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna, for being with us today.
Thank you.